shit, yeah, they breath stank. Walk up in the club, dripping like I'm fresh paint. I could see through the facade like
What's going on, fight fans? It's another great day when you love MMA. Welcome back to Mad Matty Fight Talk. Bellator 284, it's going down at the Sanford Pentagon in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, August 12th on Showtime. You guys are going to want to check this one out. It's a stacked fight card. We got a banger of a main event going on between Neiman Gracie and I believe his name's Goiti Yamauchi. These guys are fucking phenomenal grapplers, high level jiu-jitsu between the both of them. This is going to most likely end up being a ground war between two really talented submission artists. Now, Neiman Gracie, he's 11-3. He has 9 subs, 1 KO under his belt, 6 foot. They're going to be fighting at welterweight to 170. Yamauchi, on the other hand, is 27-5, 21 submissions, insane, 2 KOs, 5'9", 170, welterweight. Neiman Gracie, he's 2-3 in his last 5. 2 wins were finishes, but he lost to some big names in his last 5 fights, like Logan Storley, who's now the interim welterweight champion, Jason Jackson, who's kind of been on a hot streak. I believe he's on a 6-fight win streak now, and Rory McDonald. He fights in the PFL, but that fight was for the belt. And then on the other hand, you got Yamauchi, who's 4-1 in his last 5 fights. This dude has 19 first-round finishes. That is pretty crazy if you really think about it. All by way of submission. Yamauchi's been a pro since 2010, while Neiman Gracie's been a pro since 2013. And Gracie has 12 Bellator fights, while Yamauchi has 17 Bellator fights. So these guys bring a shit ton of experience to the ring, to Bellator. And it makes for a great main event. I mean, what more could you ask for? Seriously, if you look at the highlights between these guys, they get in really solid positions on the ground and they're going nonstop. They're attacking nonstop from their backs. They're always finding a way to get a submission. Now, Gracie, you know, he holds the name Gracie, which is like, let's be real here. If we're talking about jiu-jitsu, it's a household name. You got to live up to that, right? This dude is able to constantly find himself in really good positions on the ground. I've watched a lot of his fights. He's constantly attacking, looking for leg locks, looking for rear naked chokes, arm bars. Anything this guy grabs a hold of, it's deadly. Now, Yamauchi, on the other hand, he's very similar in that way. He does have a little bit of power in his hands, man. He's dropped a few guys. I mean, Gracie's no joke standing up either, but Yamauchi might possess a little bit more power. It's hard to tell. But as far as the fight itself, this is going to be a ground fight. If you're betting money on this fight, it's hard right now for me to decide on who I think is going to win this, because both of these guys are so good at ending the fight. I don't think this fight's going to go long because of how many finishes these guys have between each other. So I really believe it's going to come down to who has the better striking and who gets in a better position on the ground. Now, if Yamauchi can hurt Gracie, who Gracie's going to be the bigger guy in this fight, on the feet, that might help him out on the ground. But as far as the ground game goes, Gracie's a big dude. I mean, he might, judging on the fact that both of these guys have such high-level grappling, Gracie might be able to utilize his a little bit more because he has longer limbs. He might be able to lock some things down a little bit better. I'm very curious to see how this fight plays out. Now, what we've seen in the past from high-level grapplers is sometimes it turns into a stand-up war, and it really depends on who's going to be able to bang it out. I mean, Gracie is a tough dude, and he's a pretty decent striker. I mean, he hurt Storley in their fight a few times, and he also got hurt by Storley. So it really just depends on who can land their shots, what the game plan is here. Maybe Gracie stuffs takedowns nonstop, and he wants to try and knock this guy out on his feet, or maybe Yamauchi has the same plan, you know what I mean? And it turns out to be a stand-up war. For me personally, I really believe that this is going to end up being a ground war. I think these guys are so comfortable on the ground. It's going to be a lot like if you guys watch the UFC, Gamrot versus Sikorian, how it's just nonstop transitions, very exciting striking. I feel like this fight is going to go a lot like that fight, which was the main event of a fight night not too long ago. But I do believe that Gracie will get the job done in this fight. I think Yamauchi has a lot of good submissions, but Neiman Gracie's fought a lot of high-level fighters who have a lot of experience, who take on top-notch competition. I'm not saying Yamauchi doesn't. I just believe, for me personally, that Gracie is going to bring it, and he's going to win because he's had a lot of tough fights, and he's fought through a lot of adversity. So Yamauchi, I believe he's going to get submitted probably late second, early third round. I don't see this fight going the distance regardless. It could end in the first round. Who knows? Yamauchi could possibly knock Gracie out. You never know. You really just never know with these kind of matchups. Like it's like two strikers, you know what I mean? You're expecting a knockout, two submission artists. I'm expecting a submission, but we really don't know what's going to happen, and we don't know what the game plan is really. But I'm assuming if these guys go to the ground, judging off of Gracie being a little bit bigger, I feel like that might help him as far as setting up submissions go. But who knows? I got him winning regardless by submission before the fight ends. So take that for what it's worth. Now, the rest of the fight card, I'm not going to spend too much time on it, but I am going to go over who's fighting and who I have winning these fights. I believe that it's Valentin Moldavsky versus Steve Mowry. Now, this fight's very interesting. I believe it's going to be like heavyweight, judging off of a 6'1", 233, and Mowry 6'7", 238. Moldavsky is 11-2. He's 4-1 in his last 5, and he last lost to Ryan Bader for the belt. So he is coming off of a loss, but he has been on a kind of a hot streak here. Now, Mowry's undefeated. All finishes, including 7 first-round stoppages. If I got to put my money on this fight, I'm going to take Steve Mowry. I just feel like undefeated record. These guys like to stay undefeated. The dude is fucking massive, so it's going to be interesting to see how Moldavsky deals with that. But I got Steve Mowry winning this fight. Moving down the list, we got Ilima-Lei Macfarlane taking on Bruna Ellen. This is going to be a fucking good fight. Now, Macfarlane is a former champion. She's had 4 successful title defenses. She is 3-2 in her last 5, 2 of those fights being decision losses. But 11-2, solid record, former champion, tons of experience. She is a high-level fighter. Now, Bruna Ellen, if you guys haven't seen her fight, she is also very exciting. I like to call her the decision machine because most of her fights go to decision. She's 6-3, 3-2 in her last 5, but she does only have 1 finish. So she is built to go the distance, which is going to be very interesting when she's fighting Macfarlane. I'm very curious to see how this fight will play out. But if I had to pick a fight, I'm going to take the former champ, Macfarlane. I do think she's going to come out with the W, and I think it's going to be a 3-round decision going towards Macfarlane. Moving along, we got Saeed Soma versus Gokhan Serakam. I'm sure I'm butchering these people's names, so forgive me. But Saeed 8-3, Gokhan 7-1. This is gonna be a heavyweight fight as well. And judging off of the Tacoma fights, that heavyweight fight was one of the greatest heavyweight fights I've watched. That was at Bellator 283. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. But yeah, the heavyweight fights are really, really fun to watch for Bellator. Saeed is 2-2. In his Bellator fights. He did win the Titan FC belt before coming over to Bellator, whereas Gokhan, I'm sorry, man, I'm butchering your name. He's 4-1 in his last 5. 5 of his 7 wins are finishes. So in this fight, I am going to be taking Gokhan, whatever, however you say your name, bro, forgive me, but I am taking you to get the W. And I don't think a lot of these fights are going to go the distance. If you guys pay attention to Bellator, a lot of these fights end early. These guys come and they come to bring it, and they put on a fucking show. Because they're on Showtime, right? Now, the main card opener is going to be between Austin Vanderford versus Anthony Adams. Austin Vanderford is 11-1. He did lose his last fight to Gegard Mousasi early in the first round. I think he got TKO'd. But regardless, I mean, the guy was on a hot streak before that, and he is a phenomenal fighter. Anthony Adams, on the other hand, 9-2. He only has 1 KO. He is also a decision machine. So it's interesting when we throw in these people who go to decisions pretty often. Their fights usually go the distance, and then they're taking on guys who kind of end the fight. Like Vanderford has 3 KOs and 3 submissions. So he's, he has 6 finishes in his career, and he was a former undefeated fighter until he lost to Mousasi. So he's going to be hungry to try and get another win under his belt and come out guns blazing, I'm assuming. So I don't know. This fight's a little interesting. I mean, if Anthony Adams can hold him off and stick this game plan, he has a potential to win a decision. But I do think Austin Vanderford is going to get the job done. I think he's potentially going to knock Adams out. That's what I really believe is going to happen. So, guys, like always, please like this video. Hit the bell icon to be notified when I drop more content. Subscribe to my channel if you guys like what you see. Hit me in the comments. Let me know who you guys have winning. But as far as the main event goes, if you guys like grappling, if you like submissions, we got a fucking high-level grappling match in our hands. But I'll see you guys in the next one.
Haters talking shit, yeah, they breath stank. Walk up in the club, dripping like I'm fresh paint. I can see through the facade like an